Well, the 4th of July is once again upon us, and it's one of my favorite holidays because it's so rich in meaning. Thomas Paine, one of our founding fathers, once said, "That which we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly." The freedoms that we have today, the rights that we have today in America, were bought with a great price. Men and women for years fought for these freedoms. They separated themselves from anybody who would stop them from trying to enjoy those freedoms, and they have paid the ultimate price so that we can have those freedoms today. The 4th of July reminds me of all those past sacrifices, but it also reminds me today there are men and women who are putting on that uniform that are going out and they're protecting those rights that we have today. We as sportsmen ought to be some of the most patriotic people around. We ought to support the rights that we have been guaranteed through our Constitution, through the Bill of Rights, and through the sacrifice of men and women throughout the years. Those men and women that are protecting those rights today are doing a fabulous job. And they're giving to us those rights that our founding fathers wanted so much for us to have. Things like freedom of speech, things like the right to bear arms, things like the freedom to worship any way that we choose, and so many, many more. Today, there are men and women who are protecting those very rights, and I believe we ought to be thankful for them. This 4th of July, as I'm reminded of all that they have done and all that they continue to do, I would encourage you to thank a veteran for their service. I continue to pray for our troops, and I would ask you to join me in praying for those troops that are serving even today. I would ask that you would teach your kids about the ultimate price that these individuals have paid for the freedoms and the rights that we have in America today. But the 4th of July also reminds me that the greatest freedom that we have is the freedom that Christ gives us. In the Bible, these words are recorded. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. We have freedom in Christ to be the people that we want to be. We have freedom in Christ to become the person that He desires for us to be. We have the freedom to do the things that we want to do because of what He did 2,000 years ago. This 4th of July, would you remember the rights that we have in America today? Would you remember the men and women who guarantee those rights? Would you think about the men and women who are protecting those rights? And would you remember the fact that even in Christ, we have a freedom that nobody can ever take away? From all of us at Realtree, we'd like to wish to you a very safe and happy 4th of July. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm Jonathan Porter, and this has been your Realtree Inspirational Moment.